Today is day 6 of the 12 Drams of Christmas here on Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today we are bringing the music back. Although we're not gonna be featuring the glockenspiel like we've already done a couple of times. Today we are busting out everybody's favorite instrument. You know it, you love it, and you probably make fun of it, and that is the triangle. But I've gotta say, the piece of music that I'm gonna be playing for you guys today, and probably in other episodes as well because there's so much music to go around, is the Nutcracker. And there's no better Christmas piece of music than the Nutcracker to bring out the triangle. And so I'm sure you guys have heard this section of the piece before. All right, so that is the Waltz of the Flowers. And so I'm gonna play for you the end of the Waltz of the Flowers when the triangle comes in. Here we go. All right, so there you go, a little bit of the Nutcracker, a little bit of the end of Waltz of the Flowers there. So now it's time to get into today's video. I've got to select a blind sample out of this box. If you don't know how these videos have been working, go back to day 1 and check it out. Blind reviews, some blind guesses at the end, and then we'll see how I did. But today we have a sample from Jeremy H. This one is titled Snare Drum, so that's kind of cool. Fittingly titled Snare Drum. So let's check this out now and see what this is all about. I think Jeremy said something about this sample in Discord a little bit earlier, so I hope it's good, but maybe he sent me a tricky dud, I have no idea. Here we go, onto the nose. Okay, so first impression on the nose is kind of a mixed bag for me. This feels really astringent. It's a very bright whiskey, it's super spicy, and there are like these tart, bright fruit notes. It comes off sour and astringent is the best way to put it. Sour, astringent, and spicy maybe are the 3 words to describe it up front. I could see it being a rye. I mean, that's just kind of like a first impression. I could also see it being a younger high rye bourbon, but no real guesses so far, at least after the first nosing of distillery or, age or proof. Maybe young, probably high-ish proof, but let's go back to the nose and dig in a little bit more. Yeah, there's just something about this that's not for me. I don't know if it is actually youthful or if this is just the profile of the whiskey. It's one of those tricky situations where if you told me this is 4 years old, I would completely believe you. If you told me it was 10 years old, but was high rye and maybe from a certain type of distillery that has a different profile, I would also believe you on that. So I'm confused, and I think I've just got to get this on the palate to dig a little bit deeper. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I have to say about it. Here we go, cheers. So I'm a little bit scared of this whiskey right now because on yesterday's episode, I did so poorly. I feel like I've had a couple of these episodes that have been humongous misses. I confused a Willet Rye for an MGP bourbon, and the fact that I couldn't even get the style of whiskey right really freaked me out. And so I'm in the same boat with this whiskey here where it's like a lot of things are telling me that it's a rye, but some other things are maybe, convincing me that it could be a bourbon. But at the end of the day, I think the palate is better than the nose. The nose is like, I smell it and I don't really want to drink it. The palate is not as abrasive, not as astringent, but it still does have those very bright and sour, tart fruit notes. I mean, that to me is kind of like the primary thing going on here. There is some citrus as well, and that just all kind of blends together with those brighter fruits. Yeah, so it's kind of like a fruit bomb with a lot of spiciness, but the spice is not necessarily like a brown sugar or something sweet. It's just spice for the sake of spice, which is what leads me to believe that it could be a rye whiskey. I gotta do one more sip before I lock in my guesses. But as far as, if I had to rate this whiskey or kind of talk about the quality of it, there's probably a market for this whiskey. There's probably a type of drinker for this. I don't think it's me, and I hope this is not something that I've proclaimed my love for before, but this to me feels like a $40, $50, maybe $60 bottle of something that stylistically doesn't quite suit me. But let's go back to the palate one more time. each time I take a sip of this whiskey, it grows on me just a little bit more. I feel like the astringency, the sour fruits, the brightness is consistent from sip to sip, but I think what's changing for me, as opposed to the spice rounding out like I initially thought, I think what's actually happening is that there's this darker, slightly caramelized core of the whiskey that's starting to emerge, each and every sip that I take. Now, is it enough to like totally change my opinion on this whiskey? No, this is not for me. And the question now becomes, as I start to make my guesses, is this a young whiskey that feels young, or is this an older whiskey that is not living up to the age? Because there's something about this from sip to sip as it starts to get a little darker where I go, hey, maybe there's some older stuff in here that I'm not noticing at the very beginning because it's so powerful and astringent when you first smell it and when you first taste it. But I'm gonna go with my gut here. I'm gonna say this is a 6-year product. I think the proof is fairly high. This to me feels like, let's go with 121. It's a weird guess, but I'm gonna go 121. And I hate that I'm gonna say MGP again because I've been guessing a lot of MGP throughout this, this entire thing. But maybe this is an MGP whiskey. I don't feel like I'm picking up any craftiness on it. And if this is a craft product, I would be surprised. And so I think that's everything I need to kind of guess. I'm gonna say it's a rye, but I'm not that confident in that either. So it could be 11, but I say 6. Could be a high rye bourbon, but I'm saying it's a rye. I got nothing else, guys. Let's do the reveal. I gotta find Jeremy's reveal card in here. Let's see just how tricky he was here with this sample titled Snare Drum. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is actually hilarious. I cannot believe this. It doesn't say whether it's a bourbon or a rye, so I'll find that out and I'll try to put that up on the screen or something. But it's an Art of the Spirit 12-year, and that's hilarious because I was like, if it's not 6 years old, then it's an older whiskey that feels young. It is an older whiskey that feels young. Proof 119.8. I said it was 121, I think. It's not MGP, at least I don't think. But this Art of the Spirit stuff is weird. Like, there's been all this talk of their 19 and 20-year-old whiskeys, but they come out of the barrel and they're a light color and the barrels look really clean. And so a lot of people just have a lot of questions about some of the Art of the Spirit stuff. Personally, I've only tasted maybe one other pour besides this one right here. I've never been that impressed, even with these high age statements. I think this to me feels like either a rye or a high rye bourbon, MGP, 6-year-old with a lot of youth and a lot of bright fruits. So this all kind of tracks for me. I mean, the guesses were okay, and the assessment of the whiskey I think was something that I would completely stand by. So thank you, Jeremy, and I hope you guys enjoyed a little triangle playing in today's video. Let me know how I did. Let me know if you've had any of these Art of the Spirit whiskeys and what you think of them. That's gonna do it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow for day 7, and I've gotta say this, for the 6th dram of Christmas, Jeremy gave to me 6 backup bottles, 5 minutes late, 4 barrels chosen, 3-hour live streams, 2 laser codes, and a short guy in a black tee, plus an Art of the Spirits 12-year single barrel that was just kind of okay. So cheers, guys, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.